Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting up to Carlisle. Have once again lost 1-0 at home, this time to Bristol Rovers. And look, I think no other game this season has quite as well summarised our season as this one today. And look, it's the same thing every single week now. It's, we go to a place where arguably the better team on the day, and yet we come away with nothing because of, admittedly today it was a bit of bad luck that saw us go 1-0 behind, a wicked deflection from a Bristol Rovers attack, while not managing to score and not having the quality in the final third that other teams have, despite some good play at the back and in midfield. And look, there's some ridiculous stats to come out of today. One of them is that we had, I think, 20 odd crosses into the box in that game, and I can't remember one that resulted in a meaningful opportunity for Carlisle. Out of any of them, we had so many corners as well. We had a lot of free kicks in dangerous positions, and I can't remember the last time we scored a goal from a set piece. And we've got a brilliant set piece taker in Owen Moxon, and I don't think there's anything wrong with the delivery into the box most of the time. I think they're good crosses. It's just a lot of the time. Look, it didn't happen today, but Sam Lavell's missed a lot of good chances from corners. But we're putting these brilliant balls into the box and no one's attacking them, like, at all. We've got a very short team, granted, but, Huntington played a big part of that game, we've got Lavelle there, we've got Mellish, we've got some big players, and to not even be getting, I think the only corner that even touched a Carlisle man on the way in was one that was taken to the near post where Sean Maguire tried to flick it on, which ultimately went out for a goal kick. We're so weak in attack that it's quite dangerous for ourselves, because if we concede one good opportunity, then we're 1-0 down. Whereas look, I don't think the defence is the problem. I think we haven't been getting battered by teams despite the position we're in, despite where we are in the league. We've got a very, very good defensive record. Our goal scoring record, on the other hand, it's abysmal. It just isn't good enough. And you look at games like these today, and you look at the amount of games this season we've lost 1-0. Portsmouth, Leyton Orient twice already. Today, Cambridge, Port Vale. There's so many games this season we've lost 1-0. I think it's 8 now. Harrogate in the Cup. There's been 8 games this season where we've lost 1-0 and we're still very early on in the season. And that's because we just can't score goals. It's as simple as that. We don't have a good enough striker for this level. It's an issue that probably should have been dealt with in the transfer window. And admittedly, I think the effort was there to do that in the Josh Coyote signing. But look, one injury to him and we're knackered because Edmondson isn't up to the task. He comes on today. I can't remember anything he did. I can't remember him touching the ball. I can't remember him being involved really at all. And it's a shame because at the start of this season I predicted that he would be a big part in this season, but look, he just hasn't made the step up at all. I think Joe Garner's genuinely our best sort of target man up top, which is scary considering he's admittedly experienced, but he's coming towards the end of his career now. He's short, and look, he is the only focal point in the attack. Sean Maguire's a decent footballer, but he's not that target man that we need. Luke Plange, although he had a couple of good things to do today, I think he did a few decent step overs. Nothing really too meaningful, but we don't have that striker that we need. And look, we're not going to get a striker that scores us 20 goals a season or something like that, but a big target man like I don't even know. There's a few out there, but it needs to be the priority. It just does. But even despite that, look, we can talk about signing as much as we want, but until January at the least, it looks like we're going to have these players to deal with going into the new year, and maybe deal with isn't the correct term of phrase. And you've got to think a lot of these players are Carlisle heroes. Joe Garner, a Carlisle legend. And you think some of the players that got us promoted are in this team. there's definitely quality in this team, and you look at the midfield. Moxon, we all know his quality. Callum Guy's now going to be out for the season, which is a big loss. But Dylan McGeoch today was arguably our best player. He had a very slow first 10 minutes, but after that, some of the passing work he does, some of the little touches he has, he is a very good player, Dylan McGeoch. And although he isn't quite at the level of Callum Guy, I think he is probably as good of a second choice as you can possibly get. In the position we're in, and I think he is a decent player, and I think he will do well going forward if he can keep himself fit. Butterworth for me should have started. I think it was a bit strange that he didn't start, but Mellish was in the midfield, and look, he did look good when he went into the midfield. But I just don't think you can afford to have him out of the back line, because I think there's an argument for him being our best defender, which is scary considering he was a player we were playing at striker not so long ago. Yeah, it's a difficult one because, look, as much as Paul Huntington's a brilliant player, does he have the legs to be playing this league? He's injured now as well, which, we'll see him, we won't have a choice but to play Mellish at the back now. But even when he's fit, I do think the best defensive partnership is Lavelle and Mellish, and I think that probably is the way to go forward. Finn back, another big injury now that, as revealed today, will be out for quite a significant amount of time. It's a huge loss considering he was probably one of our best players. Jack Armour's back in at the fold, didn't do anything wrong. Thomas Hawley, I thought, had a good game. Again, there wasn't really much for him to do because we defended so well today. It was just one bad deflection that, look, Thomas Hawley can do absolutely nothing about. He came for crosses. He did all the simple stuff well. I think he did really well passing out from the back. I think there was one instance where he tried to be Manuel Neuer and tap it round a player, which he succeeded with, but that's not what I want to see him do. That's the only negative I'd say from his performance, is that he tried something I don't think he should have tried. And it worked, But look, we don't want him doing that kind of thing, do we? It's a difficult one to take today. And it's so familiar now as well that we go into these games, we play well, we don't score, we get beat. It just seems to be how things are at the minute, and it can be nothing but mentality, in my opinion. I think it's just a mental block the players have. But I also want to mention, there are a lot of people overreacting to this, and I think people have very short-term memories. These players, they're decent players. Yes, we don't have the quality going forward that we maybe did at times last season when we had Christian Dennis, or we had Amari Patrick. And look, there's nothing to say them two players would have done any better in League One. I think they're both in a relegation battle in League Two now. Mari Patrick not starting and Christian Dennis not doing too much better for Tranmere. But yeah, I think, look, one good run in this division sees us fly right up the table. We're 3 points into the relegation zone now, which is never a good thing, but the table's so tight. If the game had gone differently today, a team that's now up in 9th in Bristol Rovers, we'd have been 3 points away from. The table is so tight, and yes, we're in a bad place right now, but there's still so many games to play. And a good run of form, a good 2 or 3 wins sees us shoot right up the table into a good position, and it's not too late for that, I don't think. I think people have kind of just started to see things as a lost cause now, which just isn't the case. People are relying... They're hanging their hopes on the American money in January, but I don't think that's the case. I think that the players are there for us to go on a good run of 2 or 3 games, get out of the relegation zone, going into January, so that we're a much more attractive prospect for players coming in. Because look, if we can get ourselves out of the relegation zone going into January, players are going to want to come into that. They're not going to want to come into a team that's sitting 2 points off the bottom, say. And I think we can do it, because I think that there is good players in this squad and there is that quality. It's just a matter of mentality at the minute. And that's not and I don't mean that in that they're not trying. I mean that as if it's just a mental block preventing them from scoring. I think if you go into a game not thinking you're going to score, then you probably won't until we get a little bit of luck and until we start scoring. And then once we start scoring, maybe things will shoot up from there. But that's another thing I want to mention today, is going forward, I always think, and I've fought it for the last couple of games now, players attack for Carlisle, and it doesn't look like they think they're going to score. And that's a strange strange observation there. But what I mean by that is, I think that players have been maybe, I think they can maybe be slightly to blame for crossing for the sake of crossing. No real intention that they're, putting a corner in for the sake of putting a corner in. Jumping for the sake of jumping. Not really with much desire, not desire, but they don't have the belief that they're going to score. They put a cross in for the sake of putting a cross in, because that's what they've been told to do. They don't put a cross in because they think they're going to score. Or maybe I'm just waffling. Maybe that's just a complete bit of waffle from me there. But look, let me know what you think. It for me, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but good signs, but just not enough going forward, as I've said from day one this year. But anyways, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you feel that way inclined, and in a bit.